Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhye evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Katanchanas Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Bande Shri Guruduntarinam Kripatamaham Bande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanchana Smrite Yasmin Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismrite Viparitam Syat Shri Chaitanyam Namamitam. Okay, let's dive into the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Okay, who will read today?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Preface. The hero's quest for the extraordinary, an ever-recurring theme in literature.
Little louder, Mataji. Little louder.
Okay. The hero's quest for the extraordinary, an ever-recurring theme in literature, reflects the urge of every heart as at its noblest to discover the full possibilities of life. Anyone dissatisfied with the scant potential of mundane existence is naturally stimulated by the prospect of finding, even vicariously, a world of greater liberty. There should be some better place for the soul. Why should happiness be so elusive? And why should confusion and resentment always shroud the mind's eye, making it unable to see clearly what's in front of it?
Okay. Does everyone know what's the meaning of vicarious? It means not direct. You can you can you can actually since this is a screen share, you can actually type on Google uh, vicarious, and then it's I don't know if it's spelled as vicarious or vicarious.
Okay, Prabhuji, should I
Yeah.
do?
Yes, yeah, just show it on the screen.
Felt or experienced by watching or reading about somebody else doing something rather than by doing it yourself. Like you said, indirect.
Indirect, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
But in this context, Prabhuji, can you explain how? The world of
No, see, the point is the in the mundane mundane existence, um, what is it? The potential is so little, you know, that that you find that you feel stimulated that even if it's not directly, at least let me indirectly experience a world of greater liberty. You understood?
okay.
Because we were so bound here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
are stimulated by the thought that even if we don't experience liberty directly, at least let me indirectly experience it somehow, you know,
Mm-hmm.
world of greater liberty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah.
Okay. Srila Sanatan Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita is a gem-like example of the quest yonder, but different from the sort commonly encountered in fable and fiction. Narad and Gopakumar, the respective heroes of this book's two parts, are searching for a key to fulfillment much subtler than wealth, influence, mundane love, the fountain of youth, or even the Holy Grail. Narad has vast experience of the cosmos. Gopakumar is illiterate and naive, yet they share the same vision of what is most valuable. What both want is not to conquer or exploit on any level, but to explore the mystery of selfless service. As Narad already knows, and Gop Kumar will gradually learn. The superior mode of life they seek is personal and defined by the interplay of those who take part in it, rather than by material laws of nature. The cynosure of the spiritual world in which Sanatan Goswami and his protagonists feel at home is one special person, the object of selfless love Narad and Gop Kumar value above all. Narad knows this special person, Krishna, as the prince of the Yadus, and Gop Kumar contemplates him as a young cowherd like himself. Srila Sanatan takes it for granted that Krishna Gopal is supreme, that Krishna is the creator and controller of everything, and leaves the task of proving it to his brother Rupa Goswami, who later takes it up in his Laghu, smaller Bhagavatamrita. Here in the Brihad, bigger Bhagavatamrita, the main questions are in whom and in what realm is love for the Supreme Person most intimately known? At first glance, the structure of Brihad Bhagavatamrita may, to modern readers, seem repetitious, but the plot does have a logic of its own, which develops the way classical Indian music develops themes, repeating them again and again with subtle embellishments. In part 1, for example, the same thing happens to Narad over and over. He goes to someone who is supposed to be Krishna's most favored devotee, praises that person, and is rebuked, refuted, and redirected to someone else. Yet, in this cyclical repetition, we discern a progress, although not a linear one, aiming at a single point. We learn much more than the simple fact that someone in particular is the greatest lover of God. Yes, the young gopis of Vrindavan are unquestionably Krishna's best devotees. But for neophytes still addicted to material lust, merely establishing the gopis as a distant ideal is of little practical use and may even be dangerous. By understanding that to emulate the gopis' perfect devotion is extremely difficult, honest persons might feel frustrated and the dishonest will imitate uh, anyway and degrade themselves. Therefore, Narad, in his encounters with various devotees, carefully traces out the real foundations and natural progress of pure devotion in a way that readers can follow according to their own spiritual disposition. Unlike the material existence we all know, in
You
which.
can just stop there, Mataji.
Yes, sure.
Basically, what he's trying to say there is that uh, we learn much more than the simple fact that someone in particular is the greatest lover of God. You know, yes, the young gopis of Vrindavan are unquestionably Krishna's best devotees. Okay, but for neophytes still addicted to material lust, merely establishing the gopis as a distant ideal is of little practical use and may even be dangerous. Okay, which means that we are not supposed to be thinking of the gopis. I mean, in the sense that yes, ultimately yes, but we are not immediately qualified to be thinking about the gopis. That's what it means. You know, so still addicted, but merely establishing the gopis as a distant ideal is of little practical use and even may be dangerous. By understanding that to emulate the gopis' perfect devotion is extremely difficult, honest persons may feel frustrated because that's a very exalted level. So honest people think, where am I? Very frustrating. I mean, it might feel frustrated, and the dishonest will imitate anyway and degrade themselves. So what is happening is, if there is you and then there is the gopis, it's a very distant ideal actually. So it may not have much practical use, and because it's of much not practical use, it may be dangerous. you know uh, so uh, uh, but for so So, but whereas for the honest person, they know that that ideal is extremely difficult. So, if seeing that the ideal is extremely difficult, they may feel frustrated. And the dishonest people anyway will imitate and degrade themselves. So, what he's trying to say, therefore, there is a progression which is mentioned. Therefore, Narada in his encounters with various devotees carefully traces out the real foundations and natural progress of pure devotion in a way that leaders can follow according to their own spiritual disposition. That is the meaning. That is providing everyone a very smooth progress to understand the platform of the highest devotees. Any questions?
Guruji, the last sentence, could you please elaborate that a bit?
Which sentence? Yeah. Therefore, Narada, in that one, that sentence,
Yes.
traces out the real foundations and natural progress of pure devotion. Traces out the real foundation means, as Prabhupada says, that bhakti is not just some sentiment, So you have religion without philosophy is sentiment. Sorry, is sentiment. Religion without philosophy is sentiment, and philosophy without religion is mental speculation. So devotion is not devoid of the siddhanta in which it is founded. So it takes you through the siddhanta and the natural progress of the spirit of devotional service, in the sense that uh, devotional service is not only about siddhanta, right? When you practice devotional service, you experience higher and higher sentiments. That's a natural progress of pure devotion. So it is founded on proper siddhanta, and it progresses very naturally to higher and higher levels.
Also,
Yeah. In
readers
a
can
way that readers can follow according to their own spiritual disposition, which means our disposition may be that, okay, I am the, what is it? My disposition may be the disposition of Yukta Vairagya.
Mhm.
Not, let me not put it Yukta Vairagya. Okay, yes, you could say Yukta Vairagya. I mean, engage everything in, or let's say, connect everything to Krishna, not engaging. Okay, connect everything to Krishna. That's one level. You connect everything to Krishna because you have an attachment to what you're connecting. Okay. So therefore, it's called connecting whatever you're attached to Krishna. But higher than that is you connect what is required for Krishna's service. That's what it is. Everything can be engaged in Krishna's service. That's a fact. But you're trying to connect because according to your attachment. But if you grow to the next level, you'll also still connect material, because we are living with material bodies, we're living in the material world. You'll still try to connect Krishna's energy in Krishna's service. But you'll do that in requirement of what should be done to make Krishna happy, like that. So these are all progressions in. So one's disposition may be, I'm materially attached. Let me engage whatever my attachments are in service of Krishna. And higher disposition be, this is needed for Krishna's service now. Let me engage in Krishna's service. I'm just giving two different, there are many levels in between. I mean, as we progress, come from the stage of gross attachment to subtle attachment, and eventually come to the stage of just doing whatever it takes to please Krishna. And in the stage of doing whatever it takes to please Krishna also, but come to the stage of prema also. It's not that just you're doing whatever it takes to please Krishna and that's it. You have to still advance to the level of prema bhakti. So like that, there are various. So this disposition could be, you could be anywhere in this level, anywhere in those levels.
Yeah. Okay, Guruji.
Okay.
Unlike the material existence we all know, in which survival depends on our ability to jockey ourselves into better positions than competitors and garner our share of the limited resources for control and enjoyment, on the transcendental plane of love of God and resources are unlimited, and everyone competes instead to prove that others are better than themselves. This remarkable quality, unknown in material life, is evident even in the sincere beginners of devotional practice whom Narad meets first, the Brahman of Prayag and the southern king. They had, they had,
No. See,
they
they and
and,
see,
they
Mataji,
and.
just hold on. One very important point which Gopi Parandaru mentions here is that whom Narada meets, which is that everyone competes. Uh, in fact, I hardly see. I mean, it's hardly visible, but that's what we should be seeing. That's what we should be doing. That everyone should compete to prove that others are better than themselves. Which I don't see any. I don't see it's common to see that active pursuit to show that others are better than oneself. But that's how the spiritual world is, which is how which is how this narrative is built also. Yeah. He's saying that the Gopikananda is saying is evident even in the sincere beginners in devotional service whom Narada meets first, the Brahmana of Prayaga and the southern king. So even beginners are supposed to exhibit that kind of a competition in which to prove that others are better than themselves. Okay, please go ahead.
They and the more and more elevated devotees of Krishna, Narad visits the king of heaven, Indra, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Prahlad, Hanuman, the Pandavas, the Yadus, and Uddhav deprecate themselves not from lack of self esteem but out of complete honesty, in which they appraise from their own points of view who really has Krishna's mercy. Narad, as an itinerant preacher, is the best person to undertake this survey of devotional attitudes. Not tied down to any particular place or situation, he is accustomed to meeting different ways of saying things, and he has the good humor to tolerate being rebuffed by every saintly person he tries to glorify. Gopakumara, the main character of the second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, is an innocent young cowherd from the vicinity of Krishna's favorite hill Govardhan. After a mysterious Brahmana initiates him into the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, a yearning to search out Lord Gopal awakens in Gopkumara's heart. Like Narad in part 1, Gopkumar searches throughout the material universe, but he also travels beyond into the kingdom of God, Vaikuntha, and yet further to the most confidential realms of the kingdom of God, Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Goloka. The final message of the second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita is the super excellence of Golok Vrindavan, the personal abode of Krishna in his original identity as the darling son of the cowherds, the lover of the gopis. Sri Rupa Goswami, who regarded his elder brother Srila Sanatan as his spiritual master, acknowledged indebtedness to Brihad Bhagavatamrita in his definitive textbook on devotional service, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1413. Srimat Prabhu Padambhojai Sarva Bhagavatamrite व्यक्तिकृतास्ति गूढ़ापि Bhakti Siddhanta Madhuri. Our Divine Master has revealed in his Bhagavatamrita all the sweet conclusions of devotional philosophy, including its most confidential secrets. This edition of Brihad Bhagavatamrita is not the first English translation of the work, but is the first attempt to present in English the entirety of the author's own commentary, which he called Digdarshini. This commentary is invaluably helpful for studying Brihad Bhagavatamrita deeply. I have not translated the Digdarshini verbatim, but have given a close paraphrase that includes almost all of Srila Sanatan's points, with a few explanatory additions of my own. Typically, for a Sanskrit scriptural commentary, the Digdarshini includes grammatical and syntactic analysis of the text, which I have incorporated in the translation. The rest of the commentary is also uncongenial to being translated literally, because Sanskrit commentaries are written in a stylized prose whose meaning is more suitably conveyed in English by careful paraphrase rather than by literal translation. Readers who would like to see a sample of how many commentary derives from the Digdarshini Tika may refer to page 763 in the appendices.
How my commentary, not how many commentaries.
Sorry.
My commentary. Yeah.
How my commentary derives from Digdarshini Tika may refer to the page. Okay. Wow. That's how you said that Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Bhanu Maharaj it is directly written from Sanskrit to English. That's how. So it's a great thing that Prabhuji has paraphrased so that we can understand.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, I don't know whether it is literally Banmar. I don't know actually. I don't.
Acha, okay. The text I translated comes from 3 printed editions. Those of Puri Das Bhakti Shastri Goswami of the Sauri Prapanashrama and Bhakti Sri Rup Bhagwat Maharaj of the Caitanya Matha. All 3 editions are printed in the Bengali script and include the Digdarshini commentary. Sanatan Goswami too wrote his original manuscript in Bengali alphabet, but we have chosen to print our Sanskrit text in the more widely known Devanagari. Our proofreaders and I carefully compared the 3 texts I consulted, one of which Puridas's notes variant readings from 2 manuscripts. And when different readings arose, I made my own choices on which to use. I found that in each case, the alternative readings almost never made an important difference in the meaning. And the commentary and the logic of the text itself helped me choose. For those interested, I have noted the variant readings of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the alternative readings of the editions consulted. Srila Sanatan Goswami in his commentary and sometimes in the verses of Brihad Bhagavatamrita cites hundreds of verses from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures, especially various Puranas and the Mahabharata. In several instances, the Bhagavatam verses are quoted by Srila Sanatan differ slightly from the text of the Bhagavatam published by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Again, these differences almost never significantly change the meaning. I have used the author's readings of these verses even when they differ from the BBT version and have listed the variants in readings of Srimad Bhagavatam verses that differ from the BBT edition. Verses quoted from other Puranas and the Mahabharata I have simply given as Srila Sanatan presents them, with chapter and verse numbers taken from the Venkateshwar Press edition of the Puranas, reprinted by Nag Publishers and others, and the Pune Critical Edition of the Mahabharata. The other sources I have consulted are listed in the bibliography. While working on this book, I've had the undeserved good fortune to be living at the location of Gop Kumar's story, Sri Govardhan. First on the shore of Mansi Ganga next door to Srila Sanatan Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, and more recently by the very side of Giriraj at Danghati. I hope that some flavor of these all ecstatic holy abodes has penetrated my ignorance and found its way onto these pages. I am only a very imperfect servant of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his servants. I cannot pretend to have any profound understanding of Srila Sanatan Goswami's revelation of the most sublime spiritual paths. I am also a clumsy writer.
Spiritual truths.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll read it again. I cannot pretend to have any profound understanding of Srila Sanatan Goswami's revelation of the most sublime spiritual truths. I am also a clumsy writer. Only because this book has been expertly edited by my dear god brothers Keshav Bharati Prabhu and Jayadvaita Swami is it now as readable as it is. They have worked hard to turn my crude manuscript into something that does justice to the original text. And for this, I will be forever indebted. After dedicating nearly 30 years to the preaching mission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Keshav Bharati Prabhu has now started an editing career that is already bearing wonderful fruit. Jayadvaita Swami was Srila Prabhupada's own editor and is the person who best knows the high standards of Bhakti Vedanta book trust publishing. I am confident that anything passing his scrutiny must be acceptable to Srila Prabhupada and his predecessors. I'm also very thankful to my wife, Archa Murthy, my old friend Dravid Prabhu, and Srimati Vishakha Priya for their editorial comments, and to Shama Dasi for skillful proofreading, to Durmad Prabhu for assistance in compiling variant readings of the text of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita and locating scriptural citations, and to Ras Varshi Prabhu for helpful research. Many thanks to our BBT publisher Muhurat Prabhu for his encouragement and commitment, to our production manager Govind Madhav Prabhu, to our artist Deenbandhu Prabhu, and to the other BBT devotees working on the book's production in Sweden and elsewhere. My life belongs to the BBT, and I'm grateful to be working under its shelter. My thanks also to Purnananda Prabhu, Brahm Muhurat Prabhu, and Madhupati Prabhu for their financial contributions towards the first printing of this book. I pray to the Vaishnava readers of this translation for their blessings and their tolerance of my faults. I want only that Srila Sanatana Goswami, Sri Vrindavan Dham, and undeviating devotion to Sri Radha Madana Gopal receive the proper glorification they deserve. Only that.
Gopi Parandaras, you did read that. Okay.
Yeah, Mataji, could you please scroll down a bit? Gopi Prandha. Mataji, no. The sign, Gopi Prandhan Das at Giriraj Govardhan, Ram Navami, April 12, 2000.
25 years ago.
No.
Okay. All right. Can go to the next. Unless you want to ask something so far, what have we read?
Prabhuji, you visited him while he was here at these places?
Yeah, I was his Siksha disciple from 2004 till 2011, actually. So about 7 years. And uh, I spent about 2 months continuously there in 2000 and when was that? 2009. 2009 winter.
Mhm.
November and December, I was the 2 months I spent there because at that time his manager had resigned and he didn't have anyone to manage it. So he wanted me to come and help him out to manage it.
Mhm.
So I was there uh, November and December of 2008. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, and he also came and stayed in Mayapur for a while, at least for a month. I
Mhm.
don't recollect. I think it was 2009. Yeah, 2009. He came and stayed in Mayapur for about a month. He stayed at home actually. Uh, my wife wasn't here. She was in Bhaktivedanta Hospital. Yeah. So I've had the fortune to see that from the time that that school in Govardhan was started. It is quite even now. It's closed. It was a hospital before, and they convert that into a school, and it is very close to that Giriraj Mishtanna Bhandar. There's on one lane when you're walking down towards the bus stand. Then it is after the Giriraj Mishran Bhandar, the first gully on the left, and that goes straight and it goes into the hospital or the school.
Mhm.
I didn't meet him when he was staying at this thing. What's it? Where he speaks about the that's Manasi Ganga, Chakleshwar Mahadev. No,
Mm.
so I haven't been to that place when he was there. But when he moved to this place, Dangati, that's where I met him in 2004. Yeah. We are actually working on a biography of Gopi Parandan Prabhu. I mean, it's in the very early stages. We are still taking interviews and things like that. So we hope that we'll be able to capture something about him. For example, sometimes it is common to find devotees saying, "I am an imperfect servant of Prabhupada" or something like that. So I was just when you were just reading this, when he's writing that I am an imperfect servant of Srila Prabhupada, what really hit me was, I mean, he actually means it when he writes it because having associated with him for a long time, I know what he thinks and how he feels, but that's an actual fact. He's actually saying it. It is not out of some, for the sake of external formality or something. He actually feels like that. He thinks like that. I'm an imperfect servant of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes,
In a
sir.
recent, yeah, in a recent what is it? Was it a class or somewhere? Yeah, I think it was a Bhagavatam class where I mentioned that Mukunda Datta Prabhu, when he left this world, when Gopi Paranda left this world, Mukunda Datta Prabhu in his glorification mentioned how he was with Gopi Paranda Prabhu at Radhakund once, and they were sitting on the banks of Radhakund and they were chanting. And at one point, Mukunda Datta Prabhu, who's a scholar himself actually, he still lives in Vrindavan, he still lives in MVT Vrindavan. So he said at one point he heard Gopi Paranda Prabhu mutter under his breath while chanting. He paused once and he said, I don't deserve to be here. He said that to himself. It was under his, I mean, muttered under his breath, but Mukunda Datta Prabhu was saying that that's what he said. And that's what he actually believed. It's not that, I mean, he had no shows of external artificial humility, nothing. He actually believed it. He actually believed what he said. And he lived like that. The last time that I met him was when Guru Maharaj uh, took a group of devotees on safari to Vrindavan. That was in 2011, actually. And what to say? I had met him in Govardhan, and during those days, to go from Govardhan to uh, Vrindakund, that is the Varshana Nandagaon road, was terrible. You could not call it a road. I think you could call it was a path of potholes with some roads in between. So here and there, it's like that. It would take about 2 hours to get to Nandagaon from there. Terrible it used to be, those roads. But I remember when I first went to see him and visited him, and my wife was carrying my first son Madhav, so she couldn't travel obviously on a road like that, and she was expecting in the month of August, and this was in the month of March. So, and I mean, I told him that we have a vehicle and we're going to, not we means not my wife. I said we have a vehicle, and this vehicle I'm going to Vrindakund because Guru Maharaj is taking uh, a group of devotees on safari there. And I asked him, would you like to join? And he gladly accepted that invitation. And before leaving, he said, I mean, only thing he said, I need a half an hour's time. I said, why not? I mean, we can wait for you. And he went, and he had chronic asthma. So you don't find a time when he would not have breathing difficulty. It's only a question of how less or how more it was. That's all. Even in his classes, everything, every class he gives, he would use the inhaler about 3 or 4 times during the class. And I never seen him at any point free from breathlessness in all those 7 years. All the time he had some breathlessness. So he's and when I finally went to pick him up at his house, what he was actually doing was he was using that what is it called, uh, nebulizer. Yeah, he was using that nebulizer to catch some breath, and then he was ready. And then we went in the vehicle. It was a very bumpy ride. We reached Vrindakund, And when we reached Vrindakund, uh, devotees were there. Guru Maharaj had not yet arrived, and then Bhakti Dhira Damodar Maharaj, Dinabandhu Prabhu, and others were on stage and they were giving a talk. And when we entered, the Gopi Parandan Prabhu started, as we entered the gate, he started walking towards the back. Anyway, that was the back of the audience. So he started walking towards the back and he went and sat down under a tree. Uh, I mean, inconspicuous, like that. So then I also went and sat there. I told him that, I mean, there are chairs on the stage. You could go. He said, no, I'm fine here. So then he was sitting there at one point. Bhaktisiddhanta Damodar Maharaj saw him and then he waved at him and he said, please come on stage. And he was not willing to come. Then he looked at me and he said, bring him to the stage. So then I requested Gopi Parandan Prabhu, Prabhu, they're requesting you to come on the stage. So then he said no. So, but this went back and forth for about 3 times. And finally, when I told him that Prabhu, they're requesting me to take you to the stage. So then he said, okay, I mean, kind of relented. Then he went on stage and he spoke. I mean, usually in these places, it's all exotic katha. But I remember when he went there, he spoke from the nectar of devotion about the top 5 elements of devotional service. It's a very, very nice class. And soon after he finished his class, Guru Maharaj arrived. And Guru, I mean, Gopi Parandan Prabhu, the way he would behave with Prabhupada disciples is as if he is their disciple. He would behave like that, genuinely. It's not like he wouldn't behave like a god brother. So he was very this thing. And so when he went to Guru Maharaj, uh, Guru Maharaj told him that you had a plan to have an institute in Mayapur. What happened with that plan? So then he said that whatever there were some difficulties, practical and other difficulties to move to Mayapur. I mean, his wife was not agreeable, or I mean, some things were there like that. So then he mentioned to Gopi Parandan Prabhu. I mean, so he mentioned that to Guru Maharaj. Then Guru Maharaj looked at me and he said, twist his arm and bring him to Mayapur. That's what Guru Maharaj told me. And so then right after that he we went to have prasadam. And I mean, we were sitting and having prasadam. So then while having prasadam, then I said that Guru Maharaj is giving me an instruction that I should twist your arm and take you to Mayapur. So I asked him, what do you think about that? And he said, you can try. I mean, he just said it in a very, very genuine and a humble manner, wishing that I succeed. So that was the last recollection that I have of him. And of course, after that, again, that 2 hours ride to back to this thing. So totally 4 hours it took just to go and come back. So that is a very rough ride. And I mean, after then we went to his house and his wife. I don't know how to put it. It's like you have all kinds of things in that courtyard of his house. It's a very small house, not very big, and you had cows and you had other pets. And I mean, pets in the sense that you had some birds there. I don't know if there was a deer. I don't know. So it was just this thing. And then I remember. So Govi Paranthap was looking at me. He was wondering whether all this appears very strange to me or not. And he was uh, I mean, he had a room there, and there were 2 rooms, and Mataji is very kind. In fact, she was really literally placing a golden shila in my hand and telling me, "Go take this and worship, and then take this home and worship Govardhan Shila." And I was very reluctant to do it. And every time I would look at Gopi Parandan Prabhu's face, what should I do? Because I kept telling Mataji that I don't want to take the Govardhan Shila, I'm not qualified. And I kept looking at Gopi Parandan Prabhu's face. Each time that I would look at him, he would just, and he had that look on it that you please do whatever you want. It's like kind of that was very reassuring to me. There is no sense of this thing, what do you call it? Pressure to take the Shila, nothing. And finally, and I think, yeah, at that time the cow had, what's that? This, when the cow delivers the calf, I think in Vraj they take that first, I don't know, something colostrum or something they drink, eat that, I think. She gave me something. I was not sure whether to eat or not eat. Again, I looked at Prabhu. Prabhu had no reaction. This time I had no reason whether to say yes or no. I remember I did eat that, this thing. Tasty though. And so like that, Mataji had her way of, I mean, she was very kind. She would offer so much, whatever she had at home and all that. And that was it. That was about it. And I think the last the memory that I have of him is as we were leaving that that time my wife was there, of course, because she was in Govardhan itself. She didn't come to Nandagaon. And the last memory that I have of him was that there was a calf in his house, and the calf was had come to him when we went back, and he was petting that calf. So that's the last memory I have of him. And their house is very. I mean, from the house you can see Giriraj. That's what he means. That from Shakleshwar Mahadev, he moved straight to Dhangati. Okay, so that's about a little bit about Gopi Paranpru. I mean, there are unlimited things that can be said about him, but this is just a small glimpse. Since Mataji, you asked me something.
Wow.
I mean, if someone were to ask me, I don't think it's possible to find someone like him. I mean, even in the future, it's very difficult. I think few other people also have said this, that it's very difficult. So some of the things, something about him was that how is it possible for someone so learned, so erudite, to be living in such humble circumstances in Govardhan, and not just, it is very easy when you see devotees just saying, "Oh, I'm fallen," or "I'm this," or "I'm that." It's very, you can see through it that they don't mean what they say. They're just saying some. It's good they say it because at least they're repeating the Shastric injunction. But while with Gopi Parandan Prabhu, I mean, it has been, I would say, I mean, even my wife has the same experience. It's almost like you feel embarrassed, to be in front of him because he's actually very genuinely humble, and I mean, he would behave in a way that embarrasses you. Not that he's intending to embarrass you, but it's like you just genuinely feel embarrassed about yourself, that what is this platform of humility and where are you? Without a word being said, just his presence and the way he behaves, the way I remember my wife was saying that. I mean, once he went in summer to Gopi Parandan school. This is around 2 o'clock in the afternoon from Vrindavan. And during those days, to go to Govardhan was a big Herculean task. And finally, she managed to reach there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And Gopi Parandan Prabhu, nobody knew how to direct her because those days there are no proper addresses and things like that. So it was difficult. So then Gopi Parandan personally went for him to climb stairs is very difficult. He went down the stairs and onto the street, onto the gully, and met her at some place and took her to the school. And not only took her to the school, she had a bag actually, and something that one of there. My wife was talking to somebody from the school who also came with Gopi Parandan Prabhu. And while she was talking, what happened was Gopi Parandan Prabhu just picked up her bag and started walking up the stairs with the bag. And then I mean, that's genuine. That's him. That's him. Like he always considered himself as a very ordinary person, very, very ordinary person. He would always have that kind of a profile, nothing extraordinary about him. In the sense that he was very extraordinary, but he never maintained a profile of anything extraordinary. And I remember even this biography biography of Gopi Pranat, which we are doing. There's one Srimati Mataji in Vrindavan. And she's a very strict follower of Prabhupada. I mean, I mean, people who know her would know she's very strict. So she used to be a follower of Gopi Parandaprabhu. So she used to come and listen to him. And so at one point when I was having a conversation with her, so I told her that we're creating a biography, writing a biography of Gopi Parandaprabhu. What do you think should be the title? She said, just call it A Servant of Prabhupada. That's it. So she said, not because he was like that. Don't give any fancy titles and this and that. Keep it very simple. Just call it A Servant of Prabhupada. That will keep him. That will make him happy. And I remember once one of his Sanskrit students had created a pranam mantra for him. I really loved that pranam mantra. And so then I asked Gopi Parandan Prabhu that the student told me that he was not very much in. He didn't like. I mean, whatever. He didn't agree for it to be used. So then I asked Gopi Parandan, this, I mean, doesn't it reflect your mood, or why is it that you're not allowed it to be officially adopted or something like that? So then he said that I don't want students to spend so much of that, so much time on the ground offering offering pranam, such a long pranam mantra, something like that. That's the reply he gave actually. That I don't want them to just stay on the ground reciting the pranam mantra, which is so long. So that
But he
anyway,
was a spiritual master. He
yeah,
made
yeah, yeah, yeah. He had about 3 or 4 disciples. Yeah, some from China. Uh, he while even Mayapur, like we had one Russian teacher who would come and teach him Russian. He would travel to China and he was preaching to the Chinese. And in fact, before he left this world, Indradumna Maharaj had invited him to the Polish tour. He had handled the question answer booth there. So he came to Vrindavan for about a week or 10 days, and from there he was supposed to go to uh, China. What actually happened was that there used to be an assistant who would live with him because he's chronic asthmatic. Anytime he could get into some crisis. So there was someone who was living with him, and but on that particular night, what happened was that it was a Vrajavasi was living. He had to go somewhere, so he left, and there had not been there had been no power in Gordon for a few days or something. So what happened was that his nebulizer wasn't also working. So I mean, of course, this is because he definitely left due to breathing difficulties. That's for sure. But the circumstances are very strange because on that particular day, Vrajavasi was not there because he had to go. Then the power at this thing, so nebulizer was not working. So it's definite that because of these circumstances he left, but nevertheless that's the external viewpoint. But he left in Govardhan, right at the foot I mean right at the lotus footstep, lotus feet of Sri Giriraj. So that is the most glorious part about his departure. He lived and left his body there in Giriraj. And opposite our gates to the Bhaktivedanta Ashram ISKCON, you can find two samadhis, Pushpa samadhis. One is of Gopi Parandar Prabhu, one is of Padmalochan Prabhu. I still have flowers from his body. So if it so happens in future, when if they permit or whatever, then I plan to see if we can have a Pushpa samadhi in Mayapur also.
wonderful. Um, Prabhuji, we used to have a Bhakti Vriksha class in R.K. Puram at Venu Krishna Prabhu's house.
Yes. Yes.
And he used to visit every 15 days. So one class was his. And he told that the devotees should not come to pick him or drop him. He used to travel by local bus.
Yes. But not by local bus, he would travel by Kota Janshatabdi because I've traveled a few times on that with him.
Okay.
You know, and in fact, once what happened was we were coming, me and my wife were coming from Vrindavan, and he was coming from. We didn't know that he's going to be on that train. So then we happened to be on the train, and a couple of other times also. What he does is that he catches the Kota Janshatabdi from. So I have a certain attachment to the train. So he used to catch that in the morning, go to uh, Vrindavan, go to Delhi, and I think from the station, I don't know if they somebody picked him up or not. But and then again, while going back, he would catch the same Kota Janshatabdi in the afternoon from Nizamuddin, right? Yeah, yeah. I think he would travel by bus or something from Govardhan to Mathura station, something like that. It was, yeah. He kept it very simple, very, very simple. Yeah.
His lectures were so nice that he used to just speak for 25-30 minutes, then lot of questions.
Yeah, Lord. Yeah. I attended a few of them in Venukrishna Prabhu's house. Yeah, those were amazing days. Yeah. Gopal Krishna Maharaj's Vyasa Puja every year without fail he would be the keynote speaker on. I mean the Bhagavatam class would be given by him on Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Gopal Krishna Maharaj is very fond of him. He was the one who was sponsoring him, and I mean all those train tickets were paid by him and things like that. And I mean sometimes I remember one. I mean he preferred if somebody could somebody's. I remember once my wife and me we had my parents-in-law were living in Kuwait at that time, and they had just an old car which was just lying in the house just for the sake of, I mean, some urgent work somewhere or something. When they come to India, normally they hire a taxi, but there's an old car lying in that house on Maruti 800. and without even an AC, So once, I mean, and during those days, it was a challenge to get to Vrindavan. It's not, you didn't have this kind of either Kota Jan Shatabdi with the buses, where it is quite a hassle. So what my wife and me would do is I would drive that car, and so when once, quite in a very reluctant manner, I informed Gopi Prandan Prabhu that we have this car and we're going. So we're offering that if we can, if you want, if you want, you can join us. And first thing he asked, does the car have an AC? I said no. So he said, I don't like AC. So I said, okay. Because I think because of his asthma, probably. I don't know. So then I said, we don't have an AC in that car. And he said, okay, that's good. Then, I mean, we drove in that car. I remember we stopped in Hodel for some lunch at that point. And during those days, it's not easy to get to Govardhan, that road was to be packed. That Faridabad, Agra road, with all the junctions and Palwal and Hodel, it takes it was a long journey, So we stopped at Hodel and then had some some lunch, and then we went to Govardhan. But I should say, that the time that we were entering Govardhan, it was around 6 o'clock in the evening. And I mean, that is something which really remains etched in my memory, There's some kind of very mystical feeling there when you were entering Govardhan. That to Gopi Parandar was sitting right next to me. I was driving, and you could see the parrots and the birds and the cows going back. It's the time when they go back to it's the Goduli Muhurta, right? It is something. It is like, how do you say? They say in they say the Zen moment, right? ZEN. It was like something unforgettable. Like Gopi Parandam were sitting right next to me with all the birds chirping, the parrots and the peacocks also occasionally you could hear the cows mooing and going back with all the dust and of the dust raised by the calves' hoof prints, and it was quite and then you get that feeling as you're entering Govardhan. This is a place where 24 hours it's a celebration, because as they say, the curtain never closes in Govardhan, right? Because the Lord is available for darshan 24 hours. And Govardhan is very, very ecstatic in the sense that it's like a sense of constant festival. People are doing parikrama and all that. It's quite a amazing experience riding with him to that to Govardhan. Okay, so anyway, we've spoken a lot about him. I'm not sure how much he would, what's it, appreciate us cutting into Bhagavatamrita time to speak about him. But nevertheless, I think it's we owe it to him that he has written such a wonderful book, and we'll be able to understand much more about the book by speaking about the person who has given it to us. Even when Prahlad Maharaj, uh, when Lord Nrsimhadev appears before Prahlad Maharaj, you can see the prayer in the Bhagavatam where he says that at this point in time, although you're standing personally in front of me, I cannot think of anyone but Narada Muni, because it's by Narada Muni's mercy that I'm able to see you. That is the prayer which Prahlad Maharaj makes when uh, Lord Nrsimhadev appears before him. So, like that, I think in the same spirit, we have remembered Gopi Parandapu as we began this journey into the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and I'm quite hopeful that we'll have a very enlivening and a very beneficial sessions reading the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Any thoughts, questions? It's 5 o'clock. I guess we can read a little bit more, but if you have any questions, we can, or anything to say. I've been trained in a science background. I have a master's in astrophysics. So for someone like me, from my background, I find it for me it's very difficult to accept things on just some statements. So seeing Srila Prabhupada's life, seeing Gopi Parandan Prabhu's life, seeing Guru Maharaj's life, seeing people who actually live the philosophy is very important to me. And so Gopi Parandan Prabhu is a very inseparable part of my position in Krishna consciousness. There, I would be nowhere without Gopi Parandan Prabhu for sure.
We
Okay.
can read a little more.
Yeah, sure. So we'll read a little.
Mataji, could you please share again? Suchismita Mataji? Yeah, okay. Srila Sanatan Goswami. What we know about the life of Brihad Bhagavatamrita's author comes to us mostly from Krishnadas Kaviraj's biography of Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and from Narahari Chakravarti's account of the lives of Lord Chaitanya's followers, Bhakti Ratnakar. These two sources inform us that Srila Sanatan Goswami was a chief direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great apostle of love of Krishna. Sri Sanatan in 1488, 1558 was the seniormost of these six Goswamis of Vrindavan, an exalted group who helped establish the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the school of devotion to Krishna that accepts Lord Chaitanya to be non-different from Krishna. Bhakti Ratnakar traces six generations of Sri Sanatan's lineage. He was born into a family of respectable Saraswat Brahmanas from the southern province of Karnataka. His great grandfather Rupeshwar, after a quarrel with his brother Harihar, migrated to the east, and his grandfather Padmanabh settled on the bank of Ganga at Naihati, West Bengal.
Near
Sanatan,
Calcutta. It's near Calcutta, Nayati.
it's in Calcutta. Okay.
Near Calcutta. Near Calcutta.
Sanatan's father, Sri Kumar, moved further east into what is now the Jessore district of Bangladesh and had several sons, the last three of whom he named Amar, later Sanatan, Santosh, later Rupa, and Vallabha, Anupama. These three brothers were from childhood attracted to devotional service. Amar and Santosh were especially attracted to Krishna, Vallabha to Lord Ramachandra. Amar had affinity for the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. In his boyhood, we are told he once dreamed that a Brahmana was presenting him a copy of that scripture. The next morning, the same Brahmana he had seen actually came to his house and gave him the book. From that time on, Amar was always immersed in Bhagavatamrita, the nectar of the Bhagavatam. As adults, the brothers proved extremely competent scholars and managers. Impressed by their ability, the Mughal tyrant of Bengal, Nawab Hussain Shah, compelled them into government service. Amar was appointed the Nawab's prime minister, Santosh the chief assistant minister, and Vallabha the state treasurer. In this way, the Nawab freed himself for military expeditions by turning most of the responsibilities of governing over to the three brothers, who established their residence in the town of Ramakeli near the Nawab's capital. By this time, Santosh was known by his official title, Dabir Khas, and Amar was called Sakar Malik. But despite their powerful positions, their only real joy in life lay in serving Krishna and his devotees. They made their wealthy estate a suitable place for remembering Krishna by planting groves of Kadamba and other trees that grow in Vrindavan, the site of Krishna's pastimes, and by building replicas of Krishna's favorite ponds, the sacred Radha Kund and Shyamakund. The brothers also hosted many learned pandits, and discussions from Bhagavatam and other Shastras went on constantly in their assembly.
You can find this till this day. Anandita Mataji is here. No, she's not here because uh, when she was here, we another family and we all went to this place. So what he writes here, they made their wealthy estate a suitable place for remembering Krishna by planting groves of Kadamba and other trees, grown Vrindavan, the site of Krishna's pastimes, and we're building replicas of Krishna's favorite ponds. Today also you can find there Radha Kund, Shama Kund, in that area.
How far is, I'm sorry.
Ramkeli is about 5 hours from Mayapur.
Oh, okay. Little far.
5 hours. Yeah. And it is in Ramkeli that Lord Chaitanya declared, Prithvite Ache Yata Nagarade Gram Sarvatra Pracharobe Moranam. So Ramkeli is a very important site for place for
Wow.
us. That's
Okay.
where he declared. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. So one can go by train? Is it 5 hours from train?
By car, I said the 5 hours. Of course, Varna's train. There's train also to Malda. Yes. It's near Malda actually. Ramkeli is near Malda. It's about 5 hours.
And from Calcutta?
Calcutta is 8 hours because you have to go. I mean, there's no
Oh,
other way. Yeah, you have to either pass by Mayapur or even by Katwa. But whatever it is, it'll take around 8 hours.
okay. Sure.
It's north of Mayapur, no? So that's why.
Fine. Wonderful.
Because you're all coming to Mayapur, right? That's why you're thinking whether to go
Yes.
to Ramkeli or not. Yeah,
Yes.
what we did was that we went to Ramkeli first and we saw those places. There's like as it's mentioned here, it is a Nawab's place. So you have it's a archaeological survey of India site. There are many. You have this fort and it's a lot of monuments are there. So a lot of visitors come. Not a lot, quite a number of visitors come there. There's also the jail in which Sanatan Goswami is imprisoned. So there are places. See Sanatan Goswami's temple. Radha Madan Mohan deity is there. So at these ponds and all that are there. So what we did is we went and stayed there. We started after breakfast. We reached there around 4 o'clock, and then we saw the places. It takes about 2 hours, 6 o'clock, and then we went and stayed in Malda. And next day morning we went to Kanainachala. Kanainachala is where is the eastern western tip northwestern tip of Gauramandala Bhumi. That's the place where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Krishna. Krishna appeared before him in Kanainachala. And
Is it?
Kanainachala
Mhm.
also has that hill. It's a hill range is also there, where you see the range of hills where Sanatan Goswami, when he escaped, he crossed that thing. Where exactly he crossed, obviously, he cannot know. But that hill range, there are waterfalls there, and that's about half an hour from Kanainachala. But Kanainachala itself, to get there, we went by boat. Boat is huge. It's like Ganges is there like an ocean, literally like an ocean, very vast and expansive. So that the boats there carry about 6 fully loaded trucks. Apart from other things, cars and all that. So you can imagine how massive it must be. So like that. So then we crossed. It takes about 45 minutes to cross over to the other side. It's Jharkhand. Kanainachala is in Jharkhand, not in Bengal. So and then we had darshan of of the Lord in Kanainachala. And then the Ganges there is so very beautiful. You can spend a few hours there. Very calm and very clean and very beautiful banks of the Ganges there. And then after lunch, we came back to Mayapur because we already crossed the Ganges. So Mayapur is on the other side of the Ganges anyway. So we came straight from there. That also took about 5.5 hours, 5.5 to 6 hours. So
The
it's a
boat
bit
ride?
far. Pardon?
The boat ride
Oh,
took.
boat ride is only half an hour, 45 minutes.
Okay.
But the journey, that car journey, was about 5.5 hours, 6 hours to from Kanainachala. Ramkeli is about 5 hours. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it is possible to go even by a minivan and all that. It's not only by car.
Yeah. Would it be possible for you to take us?
Yeah, will I just tell me the schedule and then we can work that out.
We haven't worked on a schedule yet.
Okay, what dates are you arriving?
19th to 25th. So 19th we are arriving and 25th we are leaving. So in between.
27th is Rath Yatra, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So and also Guru Maharaj is also expected to be here as far as I've understood as of today. So let's see. I mean,
We
unless
hope.
he changes, I mean, it's very unlikely that he'll travel before Rath Yatra is over. After that, he'll travel. But before that, he won't travel outside India, but whether he'll travel within India, I don't know. But outside India is definitely after Rath Yatra, as of today. I mean, it looks like it was finalized today, from whatever my understanding is, unless Guru Maharaj says something else in the evening. Yeah. Okay. So continue, Mataji, for some more time.
Yes. The three brothers had heard about Lord Chaitanya who was still living as a family man in Navdeepa, and despite feeling utterly unqualified, were eager to meet him. They considered themselves degraded and untouchable, for through their father, Kumar Dev for though their father, Kumar Dev, had been so strict in his Brahminical principles that if he even saw the face of a meat eater, he would fast for the day. They were now paid servants of a meat eater, the Yavan king. Nonetheless, their enthusiasm impelled them to begin corresponding with Lord Chaitanya, and in one letter, the Lord encouraged them to be patient. Parvyasnini nari vyagrapi griha karmasu tad eva swadayate antar navasanga rasayanam. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in her household affairs, though within her heart always relishing the company of her paramour. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 1-2-11. Soon after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left home to enter the renounced order, he decided to go to Vrindavan. Followed by large crowds, he proceeded north and stopped at Ramkeli. Meanwhile, Hussain Shah received news that this sannyasi was creating a stir in the countryside. But by consulting with Dabir Khas and other ministers, the Nawab decided that Chaitanya was a worthy saint and or even God himself, and ordered that no one interfere with his doings. Still, the Bir Khas was worried that Hussain Shah, capricious as he was, could change his mind and turn against Lord Chaitanya. Thus, in the middle of the night, the Bir Khas went incognito with Sakar Malik to warn the Lord of the potential danger. The two approached Lord Chaitanya with straws between their teeth as a sign of humility, bowed prostrate before them, and with plaintive prayers confessed their unfitness to receive his mercy. In response, the Lord showered them with affection. शुनि महाप्रभु कहे सुन दबीर खास तुम्ही दुई भाई मोर पुरातन दास. After hearing their prayer, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, My dear Dabir Khas, you two brothers are my old servants. Aji hoite duhar naam रूप सनातन देने झाड़ तुम्हार देने फाटे मोरा मन. My dear Sakar Malik, from this day your names will be changed to Sri Roop and Sri Sanatan. Now please abandon your humility, for my heart is breaking to see you so humble. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 1-2-07 and 8. Sanatan Sanatan advised that Lord Chaitanya not go to Vrindavan with so many people, and Lord Chaitanya accepted the advice and returned to his base at Puri. The three brothers, Roop, Sanatan, and Anupam, then made plans to abandon their material life and join him. And they engaged Brahmanas in performing purificatory rituals to help them quickly realize this hope. Soon Roop and Anupam loaded the bulk of their wealth on a large boat and left Ramkeli for their hometown, leaving their senior brother Sanatan alone to deal with Hussain Shah. In case Sanatan might need emergency funds, Roop deposited a large sum with a merchant in Ramkeli and informed Sanatan about this in a letter. The rest of their wealth he distributed among Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and their own family members. On the plea of illness, Sanatan began to ignore his government duties and stayed home studying Bhagavatam in his assembly of Panditas. The Nawab, however, sent.
Just a little slowly, yeah.
Okay, fine. Sorry. The Nawab, however, sent his physician to check on Sanatan and received a report that nothing was wrong with Sanatan's health. The Nawab himself then went to Ramkeli to confront Sanatan, and when Sanatan refused to resume his responsibilities, Hussain Shah put him in prison. Roop and Anupam got news that Lord Chaitanya was making a second attempt to visit Vrindavan, and they started traveling in that direction. By then, Lord Chaitanya was already on his way back from Vrindavan, and the brothers met him at Prayag. There, Lord Chaitanya instructed Rup Goswami for 10 days and blessed him with the power to disseminate pure devotional service. Rupa wanted to accompany the Lord back to Puri, but the Lord ordered him instead to go to Vrindavan and gave him what for him and Sanatan would be their life's mission, to discover the forgotten places of Krishna's pastimes and write books to establish the science of Krishna consciousness for the modern age. Soon he promised the brothers could visit him in Puri. Roop and Anupam went on to Vrindavan, which was then a wild jungle. While waiting for Sanatan, they took up a new life of extreme renunciation and intense, blissful meditation on the Supreme Lord's pastimes. As the time approached for Lord Jagannath's cart festival in Puri, which Lord Chaitanya celebrated yearly with his Orissaan and Bengali devotees, Roop and Anupam started the long walk to Puri. During the journey on the banks of the Ganga, Anupam passed away. Only after considerable time would Roop and Sanatan be able to reunite to spend the rest of their lives in Vrindavan. Srila Kavi Karnapura, an eminent poet among Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, has written in Chaitanya Chandrodaya 929 and 38, यह प्राग एव प्रियगुणगणैर्गाढ बद्धोऽपि मुक्तो गेहाध्यासाद् रस इव परो मूर्त एवापि अमूर्तः प्रेमालापैर्दृढधर परिष्वङ्गरङ्गे प्रयागे तं श्रीरूपं समम् अनुपम मेना अनुजग्राह देवः. From the very beginning, Srila Rupa Goswami was bound by attraction to the qualities of his beloved Lord, yet free from the false identification of family life. Although Srila Rupa had no material body, he was the embodiment of the transcendental tastes of devotional service. At Prayag, the Lord bestowed mercy on Rupa and his brother Anupam, holding loving conversations with them and embracing them with wholehearted pleasure. कालेन वृन्दावन केलिवार्ता लुप्ते तितां ख्यापयितुं विशिष्य कृपामृतेन भिषिषेज देवस् तत्रैव रूपं च सनातनं च. In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. To carry out the work in Vrindavan of explicitly enunciating those pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami with the nectar of his mercy. Using the money left by Rup, Sanatan bribed the jailkeeper and gained release from prison. He then at once headed north to join Rupa in Vrindavan. Overcoming various difficulties, he arrived disheveled and travel-worn at Banaras, where he learned that Lord Chaitanya was staying at the house of a devotee named Chandrasekhar. Sanatan found his way to Chandrasekhar's door and sat down, not daring to ask to be allowed inside. But Lord Chaitanya knew without being told that Sanatan had arrived and requested Chandrasekhar to invite into the house of the saintly Vaishnav. And requested Chandrasekhar to invite into the house the saintly Vaishnava waiting at the door. Chandrasekhar looked outside but saw only what he thought was a dirty Muslim beggar. Lord Chaitanya sent Chandrasekhar back to let the beggar in, and the Lord embraced Sanatan like a lost son. For 2 months, the Lord kept Sanatan in Banaras and instructed him in all the important aspects of pure devotional service to Krishna. And the Lord empowered Sanatan as he had Rupa to teach Krishna consciousness to the world, as described in the drama Chaitanya Chandrodaya 9:34-35. गौडेन्द्रस्य सभा विभूषणमणिस्त्यक्त्वा य रिद्धां श्रियं रूपा रूप रूपस्याग्रज एक एव तरुणीं वैराग्यलक्ष्मीं दधे अंतर्भक्तिरसेन पूर्ण हृदयो बाह्यावधूत कृतिः शैवालहे पिहितं महसर इव प्रीति pradastadvidam. Sri Sanatan, Rupa's elder brother, was the prize jewel of the court of the king of Gauda. Yet Sanatan gave up his fabulous wealth and power to accept the youthful goddess of renunciation. Although his heart was filled with the ecstatic taste of devotion, he externally appeared like an outcast mendicant. Thus he resembled a great lake covered with moss. He was very affectionate to those who knew the tastes of devotion. Tam sanatanam upagatam akshinor drishtamatram atimatra dayaradra aliling परिघायत दोर्भ्याम सानुकंपम अथ चंपक गौरः. As soon as Sanatan arrived and Lord Chaitanya saw him, the Lord's eyes at once overflowed with tears of compassion, and with both arms, broad like war clubs, the Champaka golden Lord embraced him with merciful kindness. In Vrindavan, Roop and Sanatan were fully immersed in the mood of separation, remembering Krishna and his eternal devotees. The brothers gave up all material indulgences, wandered about the holy land with no fixed residence, and almost completely forgot to eat and sleep, sometimes staying together and sometimes moving separately. They constantly searched for the forgotten places of Krishna's pastimes and wrote books on advanced topics of Krishna consciousness, guided always by Srimad Bhagavatam and other devotional scriptures. Sanatan was not yet 30 years old when he arrived in Vrindavan, and he stayed there for more than 40 years, up to the end of his life. He traveled all around the holy district, treating the residents of each village with great affection because he considered all the Vrajavasis dear to Krishna. Though a renunciate normally has no business with material affairs, he would show honest concern for all the villagers, asking them whom their sons and daughters were going to marry, how much milk their cows were giving, and so on. And the Brajavasis loved him like their own father. While staying at Mahavan, where Krishna had played as an infant, Sanatan rediscovered one of the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Sri Madan Mohan. Observing some boys playing near the bank of the Yamuna at Mahavan, Sanatan noticed that one of the boys was specially attractive. That night, the same boy came to Sanatan in a dream and said he wanted to come live in Sanatan's hut. In the morning, Sanatan stepped outside to find the deity of Madan Mohan standing by the door. He took Madan Mohan to Dwadashaditya Hill in Vrindavan forest, where Sri Advaitacharya Prabhu had earlier worshipped the same deity, and began to serve Madan Mohan as best as he could in his humble circumstances. It pained him, however, to be unable to offer Madan Mohan anything better than dry chapatis to eat without even salt. To relieve Sanatan Goswami's anxiety, Madan Mohan himself arranged for his own opulent worship. While bringing a boatload of merchandise to Mathura, a rich merchant from Multan, Krishnadas Kapoor, ran aground on the shore of the Yamuna at Dwadashaditya Hill. Krishnadas went to Sanatan to beg his blessings, and Sanatan assured him that Krishna would help him get his goods safely to the market. That same day, a rainstorm swelled Yamuna and freed the boat, and Krishnadas, after selling his goods, offered the proceeds to Sanatan. Srila Sanatan asked him to use the money to build a temple and establish proper royal worship for Madan Mohan. The splendid temple of Madan Mohan was the prime attraction of Vrindavan for 2 centuries, and though desecrated near the end of the 17th century by Emperor Aurangzeb, still stands beautiful today. Sanatan Goswami spent his last years on the side of Govardhan Hill at Mansi Ganga Lake next to Chakaleshwar, one of the 4 deities of Lord Shiva that protect the 4 directions of Vrindavan. Every day, Sanatan would walk the longer of the paths around Govardhan, some 40 kilometers, although the physical exertion was difficult. Unable to tolerate Sanatan's austerities, Krishna appeared to him in person and gave him a large stone from Govardhan, marked with his own footprint. Krishna asked Sanatan to simply walk around this Shila daily, and that would be equal to circumambulating the whole hill. When Srila Sanatan passed away at Mansi Ganga, men in the villages all over Vraja shaved their heads as if their own father had died. Sanatan's nephew, Sri Jiva, brought Sanatan's remains to Vrindavan and installed them in a samadhi, sacred tomb, at the Madan Mohan temple. Sanatan's Govardhan Shila, he brought for worship in his own temple, that of Radha Damodar. Sanatan Goswami wrote 4 major books. Hari Bhakti Vilas, composed under the direct order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is the standard smriti or handbook of devotional practices for the followers of Mahaprabhu. Vaishnav Toshani, Dasham Tippani is Srila Sanatan's elaborate commentary full of sublime realizations about Krishna's pastimes on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Leela Stava, also known as Dasham Charit, is a concise poetic summary of the first half of the 10th canto, describing Krishna and Vrindavan. And Brihad Bhagavatamrita is a set of 2 stories presenting in 2514 verses the essential teachings of the Bhagavatam. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, in his purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 5203, remarks that Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, the teacher of the science of devotional service, wrote several books, of which the Brihad Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service, and Krishna must read this book. Sanatana Goswami also wrote a special commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam known as Dasham Tippani, which is so excellent that by reading it, one can understand very deeply the pastimes of Krishna in his exchanges of loving activities. In another purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya 481, Srila Prabhupada writes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to accomplish many purposes through the exegetical endeavors of Srila Sanatana Goswami. First Sanatana Goswami compiled the book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita to teach people how to become devotees, execute devotional service, and attain love of Krishna. Second, he compiled the Hari Bhakti Vilas, wherein he collected authoritative scriptural injunctions regarding how a Vaishnava should behave. Only by the endeavors of Sri Sanatan Goswami were all the lost places of pilgrimage in the Vrindavan area excavated. He established Madan Mohan, the first deity in the Vrindavan area, and by his personal behavior, he taught how one should act in the renounced order, completely devoted to the service of the Lord. By his personal example, he taught people how to stay in Vrindavan to execute devotional service. The principal mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to preach Krishna consciousness. Mathura and Vrindavan are the abodes of Lord Krishna. Therefore, these two places are very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he wanted to develop their glories through Sanatan Goswami. Atishi, I can't see the first line. No. Was there something more above?
No, Mataji, you ended. After that, this is all blank. The page is all blank.
Yeah. Can you just go up there what Prabhupada speaks about Bharat Bhagavatamrita, no? Where he says that
Yeah, here.
divine
Wait.
grace, there only, yeah. His divine grace is Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada in his purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 5.203 remarks Srila Sanatan Goswami Prabhu, the teacher of the science of devotional service, wrote several books, of which the Brihat Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service, and Krishna must read this book. So that's why we're reading this book. Okay. All right. Okay. So any thoughts, reflections, comments, questions before? We'll close for today, but we'll take some questions or reflections before that, and then we'll resume next Thursday.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Prabhuji, I just have a question. Like we just read that Sanatan Goswami was reading the Srimad Bhagavatam as which Bhagavatam? I mean, like, so we presently are reading the Bhagavatam translated by Srila Prabhupada, and so he was reading the Bhagavatam written. I mean, like here, no, Krishna conscious guided always by the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I think this is where we read.
Yeah.
The advanced topics on guided always by the Srimad Bhagavatam and other devotional scriptures.
Yeah. So even at that time, Sridhar Swami's commentary was there on the Bhagavatam.
Sorry, Prabhuji?
Sridhar Swami's commentary was
Sridhar
there
Swami.
at that time.
Okay. Fine.
That's why Vallabhacharya says, no, I've written something, then something different or something, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, one who's not faithful to the Swami, like that, So Sridhar Swami's commentary was there even at that time on the Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Generally, Vaishnavas would read something with commentary. Apart from Srila Sridhar Swami's commentary, there is also other commentaries like from the Madhva line and the Nimbarka line. Even Keshava Kashmiri also has written but Keshava Kashmiri anyways follow Lord Chaitanya. But anyway, even before there are some commentaries which predate Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially Sridhar Swami. Yeah.
All right. Yes. And probably I'm just inquisitive. I mean, like at Ramakeli, they created the Vrindavan and the Kund, the Radha Kund and the Sham Kund. The manually the ponds were created. I mean, like.
Yeah. They dug up the ponds.
They
Yes.
dug it up. Right. Okay.
And please remember, all this they did it even before they went to what's it, Vrindavan, no? Because they are residents of Vrindavan, no?
Yes.
So they did all this even before they went to Vrindavan. That Prabhupada calls it the transcendental television, right? So in the television of the heart. So they know they're participating in Krishna's pastimes all the time, actually. So, but
Very
at the
good.
same time, for external Leela, they behave in certain ways. That's all.
All right. Nice. Very good. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
And Mataji, our return is on 24th night.
Arrival is what date?
Arrival is 19th, as Mataji said, but
19th
return
when?
is on
19th when?
1910, 10:45 or something. We land. I mean, we land, and of course, then I think we have the commuting to be, the time period that takes.
No,
The
10:40 night is it? 19th night?
no, in the day. We land in the day at 10:45 in the morning.
Okay.
Then we have, at Calcutta. Then we have our drive. I mean,
Yeah,
to
it takes about 2.5 hours.
just 2.5
Thereabouts,
hours. We were thinking. I
yeah.
thought it was longer, like 4.
Maximum 3 hours. Maximum 3 hours.
Okay.
We have
Yes.
wonderful roads now, no? It's not like the past. Okay.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. We have
Yes.
4-lane highway,
Very good. That's really good.
except the part near Calcutta, but that also doesn't take so much time.
Okay.
Some small stretches here and there, but other than that, it's all continuous street you can travel.
Yes.
So 19th, I guess by lunch you'll be here. Then, okay, yeah. I'll coordinate with Radhakishori Mataji about the
Yes,
Ramkeli.
Prabhuji, please help me decide this.
How many of you are there actually?
8 of us.
And how are you coming from there?
Sorry, how?
How are you? You're hiring multiple cars, or what are you doing actually?
I think, Maji, one car has been hired or two?
Mataji, we will need to have two, definitely, with the luggage. I mean, like,
And that's
considering,
a
I
problem in Bengal. You don't have cars with luggage. Well, you